What is up, everybody? Ace here, and I am going to be talking to you about my job, about basically reviewing my job. This is one of the two things that I was going to do before my move. What you're watching right now is a few clips that I have recorded and have subsequently scrapped from the JSON fan server. This first one is me going through Mukluk's jungle temple challenges, I guess. Going through the three challenges of the maze, and the parkour, and the puzzle challenge. The second clip is me, looks like tackling a water temple. And then the third one is me digging up clay. All three of them had me talking about stuff, and I decided to scrap them. I think this one I was talking about UHC. The clay one, I was answering questions from a random generator, and I think the middle one is something else that doesn't have anything to do with any recordings. Just something I recorded on a whim for I guess footage to talk about stuff. So, yeah, this is part of a two, maybe three-part little mini thing that I'm going to do concerning my move from Tennessee to Massachusetts. In this one, I'm going to review my job. I got a job at Red Robin a couple days after I moved. They called me for an interview the night before I moved, as a matter of fact. And so I called them back They called me Friday night. I called them back Saturday. They had me call back Sunday. They had me come in for an interview on Monday. Had me come in for orientation on Tuesday, and I was working by Wednesday. And so got off to a really good start in terms of working. Red Robin is a restaurant that serves gourmet burgers, quote unquote. It's kind of like a step up, like a fast casual dining, which is between a regular restaurant and a fast food restaurant. Um, Specializing in burgers, of course, and pretty much anything between. Well, I was gonna say anything between two buns, but I would be wrong. But yeah. So I was a dishwasher there, and I made $10.25 an hour, and averaged about usually somewhere in the 30 hours a week range. Um, I started out kind of on the low side, and then somebody who was on Dish before me basically stopped showing up one day. He just kind of up and quit. So I ended up taking his hours. Next thing I knew, I was averaging, you know, somewhere in the mid to upper 30s per week. And then one of our, I think he was a supervisor, he went to training to become a manager. And so he, while he was away, we were short staffed manager wise, and thus had to have somebody pick up the slack, basically. So at night, while we're closing, I would stay back with the closing manager to help kind of clean up after the place. And so I would end up staying till about 2, 3 a.m. every single night. And it was only with the one manager who is now the general manager. Um, Anytime a different manager would close, I'd be able to get out at least somewhat earlier. So that was good. And since I was still learning, I couldn't finish my stuff quick enough to get out of there before anybody else did. So, um, however, that time gave me a lot of money, so everything was going pretty good. And so we kind of get through that. I kind of continue to average kind of low to mid 30s per week in hours. And then November comes around, and the other guy that did dishwashing, who was also a busser, who would also bus tables, he ended up putting in his 2 weeks' notice in late November. Um, and then we hired a new guy. Around that same time, I went on vacation for Thanksgiving. And when I came back, I found that my hours had dropped to the 20-hour range, which is nowhere near enough to make a living, basically, pay rent and all. It turns out that the new guy put open availability on his resume, and then after he got his job, said that the only hours he could work were closing hours. And the managers pretty much went with it. They're like, okay, whatever, that works. And basically shunned me aside. And I complained about it, and they said, you'll get your hours back. And I started with like 20 to 22 hours the first week. Then I had 25 hours the second week, and then like somewhere around 27 hours the third week. So while I was kind of getting my hours back, they were kind of like trying to compensate, it seemed. Like they were trying to give me my hours while letting the other guy keep his hours. And I guess that's how it was going to stay, where they were going to get me as close to 30 as possible without taking away too much from the other guy. However, in January, that other guy stopped showing up. He actually called out to work on one of the snow days we had because of the weather, and he said something about being the only person in his family that had a car or something and needed to do this and that. And that was the last we heard of him. He just never showed up. So I got all my hours back and then some. Was pushing 40 hours on a number of occasions, got a little bit of overtime every so often. And then we got another new guy who would bus tables and then wash dishes when I was not around. And my hours kind of slipped a little bit back to the mid-30s, which is fine. And that's pretty much where I left off. Put in my 2 weeks notice at the beginning of May, and now I am out of the job. I can't really tell you what how the final 2 weeks went, because I'm actually still working. Just dated my own content. But yeah, this is actually the weekend before I put my 2 weeks notice in, because I guess I'm a little excited to record. But either way, I've been in there long enough to be able to talk about and give my opinion on it. So I've been there about a year, and this is the longest time that I've been at a job. My first job was just a couple months. The Army was about 6 months, and my most recent job before this one was also about 6 months long. So this is definitely the longest I've been at any one job. So I think that's pretty good. So talking about the job itself, in short, it was fine. It was fine. It was okay, I guess. So basically, at first I was, I was okay with it. They're going to train me on other stuff on the line, but I decided to stay on Dish because of the hours and the pay was pretty good. However, I ran into a lot of gripes with the company, and so things like the raise system was really stupid. Basically, the way it works is you train everything that you train on, you get a raise for. So if you start as a dishwasher and then train to bus tables and then train to work on different parts of the cooking line and then maybe even transition to everything else, you would get a raise for every position you train on. And while on the one hand that is a quick way to get up to the level that you might want, get to the level of pay that you might want, on the other hand, if you put it like this, somebody who works their ass off on one job the entire time, like I feel like I have, will never see a raise, and I did not see a raise the entire time. Whereas somebody who kind of half-asses things and trains on a bunch of stuff is going to get a bunch of raises, which is pretty stupid. So yeah, and really, in terms of recognition, I don't really think I got the recognition that I deserved from the managers and such. I think I got more recognition from the other employees there, specifically the servers, than anybody else, because I guess the servers were the only ones who paid enough attention to see what was going on. So I got a lot of praise from them, but not from the managers themselves. The only bit of praise I get it every so often, but like when I was staying till 3 a.m. every night, the current general manager uh, mentioned that I should get a raise and that he would talk with the previous general manager to see if I could get one. And nothing ever came from that. So I never really brought it up, just kind of let it go. And yeah, so. And that was pretty much it in terms of recognition on stuff. Um, for me, I just kind of did my job, go to work, do my thing, go home, and get my paycheck every couple weeks. So it wasn't like I was, after a point, it wasn't like I was trying too hard to be the best that I could be, but yeah. During that time where I was staying till 3 a.m. every night, I felt like that I deserved maybe an Employee of the Month thing, because that's something they did there. And I did not get that either. I could have gotten it, I think, at least once during my entire time there, and that was when I was staying back till 3 a.m. every night. Um, but yeah, the way it used to go with our previous GM is that like every new person they got basically got the award, unless you were me. Like somehow I got missed out on that, but like every new person that trained on the line got to be Employee of the Month next month. So it's just kind of like you wait in line for your turn, and if you're still working by the time your turn comes around, you get the Employee of the Month thing, and there you go. And with our current general manager, he's kind of shaking things up a bit. It's a little bit different, but I'm still like I'm past the point where I could even get that award. So yeah, it's kind of stupid in that regard. Um, let's see, any other gripes? Let's see, the GM. Let's talk about the general manager. For one thing, to talk about a couple good things is that the people there, while there has been drama off and on and whatnot, and there's probably some people who aren't as genuine as you would think they are. Um, for the most part, everybody was at least polite and friendly to me. I don't really have a problem with anybody, and for the few people that I did have a problem with, they never really lasted long. So, and I have to worry about dealing with people I didn't like, at least not for too long, at least. So, um, but yeah, the general manager. I'm not gonna name his name, but he's the best way I can describe him is childish. And each of the managers are pretty. They have their immaturities. They're a pretty interesting bunch, but the general manager is definitely the one that needs to grow up, basically. And somehow he's a general manager. He acts childish pretty much all the time. Um, a lot of employees have had conflicts with him, and he's like the only manager that I've seen uh, have problems with employees where they kind of bicker back and forth. Any other manager who has to deal with a problem with one of the employees usually gets it solved and is pretty straightforward and serious about it. Any other manager, whenever there's a problem, they stop being immature and get back to being serious. So, but not the GM. He takes the opportunity to continue to mess around with people and give them a hard time and make things generally more difficult for them and just be a pain. So he doesn't know when to grow up or how to grow up, and I found that to be really annoying with this guy. The only time I actually found him to be any type of mature and grown up is actually when he talked to me. He's a lot more toned down around me, and maybe that's because he's afraid that I might get offended or something. But yeah, it's really toned down around me, but not around anybody else. And even then, he's kind of started to come around where his childishness is kind of leaking through at times. But I guess since I don't react much to stuff, he's probably worried that I might be offended by stuff and things like that. So I don't know, but yeah, I think he's the biggest problem with the whole business there. I don't think he makes the best decisions, and yeah, I'm not the only one that's actually had problems with him either. There's someone who I believe has left by now. If not, she'll be gone by the end of the weekend. And she's expressed similar problems with him and how the business is run, and yeah. So, in a way, even though I'm leaving for moving purposes, this is actually good timing for me because this job, while fine while it lasted, it grew old pretty fast. Well, I guess not pretty fast. Well, yeah, it did it did grow old pretty fast, but it took a long time to reach that point, if that makes sense. For the majority of the year that I've worked here, it's it's been fine, and I've been able to just kind of be chill about it and not really care that much. Just show up, do my thing, go home. Um, Maybe it's because I'm leaving that it's kind of become a bit of a uh, tougher issue, I guess. Maybe I just have less of a tolerance for it now because I'm leaving. But yeah, my patience has grown a lot thinner recently, and I've become a bit grumpier at work. Not outwardly so, but definitely, um, definitely in my head. And I think it's might have leaked through a little bit, but I usually don't. I usually keep it pretty well contained, I guess. But so yeah, that's my time at Red Robin. Let's see. I guess the other thing I gotta mention is the food, because I get free food there. It's okay. It's not great. Considering the fact that it's free, it's fine. Like, I'll eat it. There's some stuff that's actually pretty good. Um, like the Blue Ribbon Burger is pretty good. It's got like onion straws. I guess it's just really thin onion ring bits, and blue cheese and barbecue sauce and stuff like that. It's pretty good. There's a couple other things that are pretty decent, but overall, even those, it's still only pretty good. And I would still actually take like fast food over Red Robin, and I've done so on a number of occasions. Where I'd rather pay for my food than have a free meal. But sometimes, when money gets a little bit tighter, that is when you eat. So it's fine in that sense. But but yeah, the food is okay. Not great. Not something that I would like invite people to dinner to. Good for eating while on the job, but yeah, not somewhere I would take friends or family to. So, and let's see, I got a few minutes left in this video, but to compare that to my last job was Freddy's frozen steak burger, Freddy's steak burgers and frozen custard, not frozen steak burgers. That's great advertising. Um, yeah, that was actually a really fun job to have. Um, in both senses, the people that I worked with were around my age, so that's that it wasn't much of a difference there. But in a sense, it was just a lot more fun. And I worked on the fryer. I did a little bit of everything at that restaurant. It's a fast food kind of steak and shake competitor. It's the best way I can describe it. Really flat burger patties, which is pretty interesting. They actually do have really good food there, which is one big difference. Um, but yeah, I just had a lot of fun working there, especially I guess in the closing month or two before I left. Um, we had one employee that I didn't really like, and she ended up getting herself fired. That's a story for another time. but but yeah, so I think I've even told that story maybe. But yeah, so especially after that point, it was a lot of fun. and was actually a job that I kind of wish I didn't have to leave, but since I was trying to get out of Florida, I definitely took the opportunity when I had it. I think I don't really know of many down points to working at my last job. Probably just the pay. The pay was pretty bad, but yeah, I would definitely take working at Freddy's again over Red Robin. I'm not sure if I'm even going to work at Red Robin or even another restaurant when I move to Massachusetts. I might. It would be an easy in. However, I think there are other opportunities available that I might look into a little bit more. So we'll have to see. But definitely my last job was a lot better compared to this one. And however, with that said, hearing how my old job is now, I don't think I would work there now with the manager that's there and the fact that apparently the crew that works there isn't as good as the crew we had when I worked there. So, but yeah, either way, it was definitely preferable to Red Robin. So, and that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Quick little review, I guess. So, let's see. I probably already have done my review of Tennessee itself. That video will be coming out. Will probably already have come out. The other video will be my drive to Massachusetts, and so that will be coming out probably sometime after I move in June. And well, either it could be anything from a full driving thing where I vlog at certain points on the way there, or it may just be a quick little update video after I moved. It all depends on how enthusiastic I am and how shy I may be about recording. So, but yeah, so I don't really know what else to say. I got a couple more minutes on this video, but do hope you guys have enjoyed me spieling about my job, I guess. Overall, it was good. It was a good job for what it was, and for what it was a good way to pay rent. And there was one time where I thought about leaving when my hours dropped below 30, and I'm kind of glad I did not do that, because I'm not sure if any job that I would work at otherwise would have paid me the same amount or given me the same amount of hours. So I guess with what I had, it was actually a pretty good deal. So yeah, I would definitely not go back and change anything in terms of that. So I guess I will let the rest of this video run out. So I do hope you guys have enjoyed watching and listening to me ramble, and I shall see you next time.